Hello everybody, thanks for tuning in to today's video. I just want to see if you remember this little number. That's right, we're looking at the bank holiday weekend of May 1997, and that was the election weekend of May 1997, and that number, things can only get better, was a big part of the 1997 general election, as I'm sure you all remember. The reason I'm looking at this weekend is that it was a very interesting weekend. It's actually one of the most interesting May Day holiday weekends that I can remember. But May Day holiday isn't actually hasn't actually been around that long. It's only been around since 1978, so we've not got a huge amount of years to go with. But certainly the May Day bank holiday of 1997 was one of the more interesting May Day holidays that we've had, and I thought it would be interesting to have a quick look at that particular bank holiday for this video. Now, I want to start off in March 1997 because it was a very dry spring that we had that year, and in fact we had been in a drought for quite some time up to this point. The drought of the mid-90s actually started in the spring of 1995, and we'd gone on into 1997, and we hadn't had many wet months at all really in that period from the spring of 1995 to the spring of 1997. It's been a very, very dry period indeed, and it carried on very dry into March and April of 1997. So this was the chart for March 7th, 1997, very indicative of that month really, with high pressure down to the southwest, low pressure up to the northwest, but this high pressure ridge kept many of us dry indeed. We did have a wet month in February of 1997, but that was just a one-off really. The dry weather came back once we went into the spring. As we went on further into March, well, there's the high pressure continuing to dominate down to the southwest, and then going on to the end of the month, there's that high pressure still there, still sitting across many parts of the country, keeping us dry. And then going through to April, well, this is the chart for the 15th of April, high pressure very much dominating across the country. Still, as we go towards the end of April, that high pressure was very much in the ascendancy. Now, this is the 30th of April. This is the last day of April 1997. And this is really where I want to start the story with this, because this high pressure sitting to the southwest was starting to draw up some very warm air indeed from the south. And if we have a quick look at the chart for May the 1st, 1997, we can see that that high pressure was dominating the weather, and it's starting to drift a little bit to the east. Notice that if we have a look at the 30th, the high pressure is down to the southwest slightly. If we have a look at the 1st of May, that high pressure is beginning to move to the east. Now, this was general election day, and it was gloriously sunny across many parts of the country. I don't know if you remember this, but it really was a glorious day across many parts of the country. It brought voters out in droves, and it was very warm as well. Temperatures well up into the 20s on the 1st of May 1997, up to maybe 25 degrees in a few places, 77 Fahrenheit. It really was a glorious day indeed. And having a quick look at the 850 temperatures, you can see why it was so warm. We've got the plus 10 line here moving up into the west of the country. That will eventually cover the whole of the country virtually through the course of the day. The 15 line is coming up here, 850 HPA line. That's indicating some very warm air moving up from the south. So the 1st of May was an absolutely glorious day across many parts of the country, unbroken sunshine and very warm. Now, as we went into the 2nd of May 1997, that high pressure was still very much dominating the scene. Actually, the 2nd of May was a warmer day. So as the election results came out and the government changed, the temperatures really were rocketing up into the high 20s, 28 degrees recorded in some places. That's 83 Fahrenheit. Very, very warm for the start of May. Very hot temperatures indeed. And of course, the former Prime Minister John Majors talks of a story that as he was driving back to London, driving through London in the early hours of the 2nd of May 1997, he saw the sun rising over the Thames, and he could hear people partying and revelling in the fact that he was being turfed out of office. And it really was a very gloriously sunny day across many parts of the country. The sun really did shine strongly on that day. And if you have a look at the 8:50 temperatures, well, there we see the plus line, the plus 10 line is covering just about the whole of the country there. In fact, you've got 8:50 is nearly up to plus 15 here, certainly up to 13, plus 13 here, so that's indicating some very warm air bathing the country, and that's why it was so warm on the 2nd of May. Temperatures are say up to the 28 degrees 83 Fahrenheit, gloriously sunny, and you thought we was in for an absolutely superb bank holiday weekend. This is Friday, of course, got the weekend coming, but you couldn't be more wrong, because then things started to change very, very dramatically. And we can see on this chart that the high pressure now is moving to the east and breaking down, and we're looking at this low pressure out to the west of the country. Big area of low pressure to move in. Now, we actually saw some showers breaking out on the 3rd of May 1997, some thundery showers, and quite a humid day as well. Quite a lot more cloud around, so those temperatures were a bit down, but still very, very warm for the start of May, still up into the 20s for many of us. And there's the 8:50 temperatures again, well above average, still got the plus 10 air across the country. As I say, it was more humid and cloudy on the 3rd of May, and there was some showers breaking out, but it was still a very decent day indeed. But then as we go into the Sunday the 4th of May, things do start to change, and this is the chart for Sunday the 4th of May. The low pressure really is starting to take over in the Atlantic now. Notice this high pressure beginning to build to the north of the country as well. That's going to become important as we go further on. But ready for the 4th of May, we started to see outbreaks of rain moving into many of these northern and western parts of the country. Still warm and fairly dry down to the south and the southeast. We have one more pretty warm day, pretty dry day down to the southeast, but to the north and west, the low pressure was taking over, bringing much more unsettled weather in across the country. But then look what happens as we go into the 5th of May, where we've got this big area of low pressure here moving across the country, and notice the pressure building out to the northwest of the country, and the winds, the isobars here going into the north and the northeast. That's indicating very cold winds starting to dig down on the northern side of this low pressure. So this is Bank Holiday Monday, just when you don't want it, and we've got heavy rain sweeping right across the country on this day, the 5th of May 1997, and very, very cold air plunging in from behind that low pressure, turning the rain to snow across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England. Now, there was a substantial temperature drop with this. Temperatures went from around the low 20s or the high teens across parts of England and Wales early on the 5th of May, down into just the low single figures actually. I went from 18 degrees to 4 degrees in the space of a couple of hours on this afternoon, Monday the 5th of May. And I say, just 2 hours and temperatures dropped by a good 15 degrees across this part of the country, and that was indicative of what we saw across many parts of England and Wales. We really did see a very quick temperature drop as this northerly wind cut in. There was also a lot of heavy rain with this one. As I said, there was snow turning up over the higher ground of the north as that rain moved away. And then as we go into the 6th of May, this is Tuesday, we're back to work, and that low pressure is moving away to the east. Where's the high pressure gone? It was under high pressure just 2 or 3 days earlier, but that's all gone now. The low pressure is dominating, and look at those isobars going up to the north, northerly winds flooding down across the country. Very cold day, maximum temperatures of just 8 or 9 degrees at best. Lower than that in the north, just 3s, 4s and 5s. There was snow showers across a good part of Scotland coming down into Northern Ireland. Many places saw a little bit, at least a little bit of winteriness. I certainly saw a few wintry showers, a few snow flurries on this day, the 6th of May. It's the only time I've ever recorded snow, or time certainly I can remember, in fact, snow falling in May where I live in Northamptonshire, and it really was a very unusual situation indeed. Very cold northerly winds, wintry showers, and when you think that just 2 or 3 days earlier the temperatures have been into the high 20s, and it really is quite extraordinary actually to think of the change that took place. Now, this temperature drop was actually in a magnitude of 20 degrees. We went from 28 Celsius on that Friday down to just 8 Celsius across many parts of the country by the Tuesday. That is a 20 degree Celsius temperature drop, or a 40 Fahrenheit, or close to a 40 Fahrenheit temperature drop. So that really is a very exceptional change in the weather that we saw through this holiday weekend. Very unusual indeed. I can't remember anything quite like it, really. Very bizarre change in the weather, and that was the end of the drought as well, because as we went further on through May, where we saw a lot of rain, it was a much wetter than average month, and then that heralded a wet summer. We saw a very wet June, and the rain continued into the second half of summer as well. Although we did get a hot August, it was very stormy, a lot of thunderstorms despite the hot weather, or maybe because of the hot weather actually. And it, as I say, was the end of the drought, end of the mid-90s drought. It heralded a very wet period, which eventually culminated in the floods of autumn 2000. But that's a video for another time. Hope you enjoyed this look back and a little remember of the May Day holiday weekend of 1997. Hope you enjoyed it. That's it for now.